The Sukhumvit bonds. Quiet flames in Sukhumvit. Phum had always thought of Sukhumvit as a place of contradictions. The district was alive with neon lights, rooftop bars, and luxury malls, yet tucked between its gleaming towers were narrow sois where street vendors grilled skewers at dawn, and old temples stood quietly, untouched by the rush of modernity. He had lived here for years, long enough to know the rhythms, the morning rush of office workers, the late-night hum of traffic, the way the air smelled faintly of jasmine and exhaust. His condo was comfortable, modern, and neat. It had everything he needed: air conditioning, a small balcony, a kitchen just big enough for one. But it wasn't enough to quiet the ache he carried. At 26, Phum had built stability, but not companionship. He was asexual, a truth he had accepted years ago, though explaining it to others was never easy. Most people thought he was shy, or saving himself for marriage, or simply confused. But he knew himself well. He didn't want sex. He wanted romance, hand-holding, shared meals, whispered secrets, the warmth of being chosen. Every attempt at dating had ended the same way: confusion, rejection, or dismissal. Dating apps were exhausting. Profiles blurred together. Conversations began with promise, but ended with disappointment. "So, you don't want sex at all?" they would ask, puzzled. "Then, what's the point?" Phum would try to explain, but the words never seemed enough. He wanted love, but not the kind they imagined. Still, he kept searching. He believed in love, even if it seemed elusive. When his best friend Niren moved into the same condo building after a painful breakup, Phum felt relief. Niren was raw, wounded, but Phum knew he would heal. They had always been close, their friendship built on honesty and shared laughter. Having Niren nearby made the condo feel less lonely. Phum tried to be a steady presence for him. He dropped by with snacks, told stories, listened when Niren needed to talk. He knew heartbreak well, though his own was quieter, less dramatic. His pain came not from losing someone, but from never being fully accepted. It was this longing that led him to join a local community group in Sukhumvit. The group met in a small art studio tucked above a bookstore, its walls lined with canvases and shelves of paint. It wasn't a dating group, but a space for people to share hobbies and companionship. Phum thought maybe, just maybe, he could find connection there. The studio smelled of turpentine and paper. Light streamed through tall windows, illuminating easels and jars of brushes. People gathered in small clusters, chatting, sketching, painting. Phum felt nervous, out of place, but he reminded himself that he wasn't here to impress anyone. He was here to belong. That was where he met Ananda. Ananda was 27, a freelance illustrator and part-time art teacher. He was gentle, thoughtful, with a quiet charm that drew people in. He noticed small details: the way someone held a brush, the way they hesitated before speaking, and made them feel seen. He wasn't flashy like Korn, Niren's neighbor, but he had a warmth that lingered. Phum first noticed him during a watercolor session. Ananda moved through the room, offering tips, his voice calm and encouraging. When he reached Phum's table, he smiled. "You have a steady hand," he said. "That's good for watercolor. It's about patience." Phum felt a flicker of something, recognition, perhaps. They began to talk, first about art, then about life. After the session, they walked together through Sukhumvit's crowded streets, sipping iced tea from a vendor. Conversation flowed easily, unforced. Over the next few weeks, their bond grew. They met after group sessions, shared meals at street stalls, wandered through Bangkok's art districts. Ananda was upfront about his own boundaries. He had struggled in past relationships, pressured by expectations of sex that made him uncomfortable. "I want love," he admitted one evening, "but not the kind people expect. I want companionship, affection, someone who understands." Phum's heart raced. "That's what I want too," he said quietly. For the first time, he felt understood. The weeks after their first meeting unfolded with a rhythm Phum hadn't expected. He had joined the art group in Sukhumvit out of desperation, hoping to find companionship in a space that wasn't defined by dating apps or awkward conversations about boundaries. What he found instead was Ananda, gentle, thoughtful, and quietly understanding. Their conversations after each session became a ritual. Sometimes they would walk down Sukhumvit Road, weaving through the crowds of office workers and tourists, stopping at street stalls for skewers of grilled chicken or bowls of boat noodles. Other times, they would sit in a small park tucked behind the BTS station, sipping iced tea and watching the city lights flicker on. Phum found himself opening up in ways he hadn't before. He told Ananda about his struggles with dating, the endless cycle of hope and rejection. "It always ends the same," he admitted one evening as they sat on a bench near a sock. "They think I'm saving myself, or that I'll change my mind. And when I explain, they leave." Ananda listened quietly, his expression soft. "I know," he said finally. "It's the same for me. People think love has to look one way. But it doesn't. It can be different. It can be ours." The words lingered in Phum's mind long after. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't alone in his longing. Their friendship deepened quickly. Ananda invited Phum to visit his studio, a small space filled with canvases and jars of brushes. The walls were lined with sketches, portraits of people in cafes, street scenes from Sukhumvit, abstract swirls of color. Phum wandered through the room, fascinated. "You see the world differently," he said. Ananda smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe I just pay attention." They spent hours there, talking, sketching, sharing stories. Phum felt a quiet joy in those moments, a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, life in the condo continued. Nairan was healing from his breakup, slowly rediscovering himself. Korn, the clumsy neighbor, had become part of their circle, his laughter filling the lobby and his charm drawing Nairan out of his shell. Phum watched their bond grow, happy for his friend, though his own loneliness pressed harder. But with Ananda, that loneliness began to ease. One evening, after a long walk through Sukhumvit's night market, they sat together on the steps of a temple. The air was thick with incense, the sound of chanting drifting from inside. Ananda turned to Phum, his expression serious. "You know," he said, "I don't want to rush anything, but I feel something with you. Something I haven't felt before." Phum's heart raced. He swallowed, unsure of what to say. "I feel it too," he admitted quietly. "But I'm scared. I don't want to be rejected again." Ananda reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "You won't be. Not by me." The moment was simple, but it carried weight. For the first time, Phum felt hope, not fragile, not fleeting, but steady. Phum and Ananda slipped into a rhythm almost without noticing. Tuesday evenings were for art sessions, followed by walks through Sukhumvit's crowded sois. Saturdays meant coffee at their favorite cafe tucked between a tailor shop and a bookstore. Sundays brought long strolls through Benjikitty Park, where joggers circled the lake and families spread picnic blankets under the trees. These rituals weren't grand gestures, but they were consistent, and consistency was something Phum had always craved. The city around them was relentless. Sukhumvit's traffic snarled at intersections, neon signs flickered above massage parlors and cafes, and the BTS trains rattled overhead. Yet for Phum, the chaos had begun to feel like background music to something quieter, steadier, his growing bond with Ananda. He found comfort in the way Ananda remembered his favorite snacks, the way he noticed when Phum was tired, the way he offered quiet encouragement without asking for anything in return. It was in those small acts that love revealed itself. One evening, after a watercolor session, they slipped out of the studio together. The air was heavy with humidity, the smell of grilled pork skewers drifting from a nearby stall. Ananda bought 2 cups of iced tea, handing one to Phum. "You always look like you need this after painting," he said with a smile. Phum laughed softly. "Maybe I do. Concentrating so hard makes me forget I'm human." "You're very human," Ananda replied, his tone teasing but gentle. "That's what I like about you. You don't pretend." The words lingered in Phum's chest. He had spent years feeling like he had to explain himself, defend himself, justify why his love didn't look like everyone else's. With Ananda, he didn't feel that weight. Their conversations deepened. They talked about art, yes, but also about life, family, dreams, fears. Ananda told Phum about his childhood in Chiang Mai, about how he had moved to Bangkok to pursue illustration. "It's not easy," he admitted one night as they sat in the cafe. "Freelance work means uncertainty. But I love it. I love creating something that makes people feel." Phum listened, fascinated. He shared his own stories, his struggles with dating, his frustration at being misunderstood. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm asking for too much," he confessed. "I want romance but not sex. And people don't see that as real." Ananda's gaze was steady. "It is real," he said firmly. "Love doesn't have to look the same for everyone. What you want is valid." The words settled in Phum's chest like a bomb. He had heard reassurances before, but never with such conviction. Their bond grew through small rituals. Ananda would bring Phum snacks from the market, bags of roasted chestnuts, cups of iced coffee. Phum, in turn, would surprise Ananda with sketchbooks or pens, small gifts that showed he was paying attention. They began to share more of their lives. Family stories, childhood memories, dreams for the future. One Sunday afternoon, as they sat on the grass in Benjikiti Park, Ananda pulled out his sketchbook. He began to draw the skyline, the gleaming towers of Sukhumvit rising above the trees. Phum watched, fascinated by the way his hand moved, steady and sure. "You make it look easy," he said. Ananda smiled. "It's not easy. It's practice. And patience." Phum hesitated, then asked softly, "Do you ever feel like people don't have patience for us? For the way we love?" Ananda's pencil paused. He looked up, his expression thoughtful. "All the time," he admitted. "They want quick answers, quick intimacy. And when we don't give it, they leave. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it means the ones who stay are the ones who matter." The words settled in Phum's chest, heavy and comforting all at once. Their conversations often drifted into vulnerability. One evening, as they walked through Sukhumvit's night market, weaving between stalls of clothes and trinkets, Ananda spoke quietly. "I used to think I was broken," he said. "That something was wrong with me, because I didn't want what everyone else seemed to want. But then I realized I'm not broken. I just love differently." Phum's throat tightened. "I've felt the same," he admitted. "Like I was asking for too much. Like I was incomplete." Ananda stopped, turning to face him. The glow of neon lights reflected in his eyes. "You're not incomplete," he said firmly. "You're whole. And what you want is valid." Phum swallowed hard, his heart racing. For the first time, he believed it. Their bond deepened through small acts of care. Ananda would bring Phum snacks from the market, bags of roasted chestnuts, cups of iced coffee. Phum, in turn, would surprise Ananda with sketchbooks or pens, small gifts that showed he was paying attention. They began to share more of their lives, family stories, childhood memories, dreams for the future. One night, after a long day, they sat together on the rooftop of Ananda's studio. The city stretched out below them, lights twinkling like stars. Ananda leaned back, sighing. "You know," he said, "I don't want to rush this. But I feel safe with you. Like I don't have to pretend." Phum's chest ached with emotion. "I feel the same," he whispered. The silence that followed was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. Phum and Ananda slipped into a rhythm almost without noticing. Tuesday evenings were for art sessions, followed by walks through Sukhumvit's crowded sois. Saturdays meant coffee at their favorite cafe tucked between a tailor shop and a bookstore. Sundays brought long strolls through Benjikiti Park, where joggers circled the lake and families spread picnic blankets under the trees. These rituals weren't grand gestures, but they were consistent, and consistency was something Phum had always craved. The city around them was relentless. Sukhumvit's traffic snarled at intersections, neon signs flickered above massage parlors and cafes, and the BTS trains rattled overhead. Yet for Phum, the chaos had begun to feel like background music to something quieter, steadier, his growing bond with Ananda. He found comfort in the way Ananda remembered his favorite snacks, the way he noticed when Phum was tired, the way he offered quiet encouragement without asking for anything in return. It was in those small acts that love revealed itself.